Good morning, everybody. Our lecture today is lecture 10. It's about new chapters, chapter 27. This is the last chapter in our syllabus. Okay, it's aggregate demand in goods and money market. بس عشان أفكركم, from the beginning of e-learning lectures, we talked about chapter 23 in two lectures, lecture 6 and lecture 7. Then we talked about the chapter 24 in two lectures, lecture 8 and lecture 9. Then today we are going to talk about chapter 27 and inshallah we have two other chapters, two other lectures in this chapter. Okay, and this is the end of our syllabus. Okay, so we are here. So let's begin. Actually, chapter 27 is about equilibrium in two markets. So for the first time we are going to talk about two markets together. Before this lecture we always talk about just one chapter, which is one market, which is goods and services market. Today we begin to talk about new market, which is money market, and talks about money market and goods market together. So we are going to begin with money market and its equilibrium. هنتكلم عنه very briefly. ليه؟ علشان هو اصلا كان chapter 26. احنا we cancelled chapter 26 و 25 اللي هما كانوا بيتكلموا عن الماني ماركت. ليه؟ علشان ده ان شاء الله موضوع منهجنا في سنة تانية في الترم الاول في التريد والماني اند بانكينج. اوكي، فعشان كده مش عشان ما نعيدش هنتكلم عنه briefly بس في الجزء اللي هيخدمنا عشان نعرف نكمل الشابتر ان شاء الله. يبقى we are going to begin with the money market and its equilibrium. Then talk about relationship between investment and interest rate, and finally equilibrium in past goods and money market. In the next lecture we are going to talk about policy effect in goods and money market, fiscal policy, monetary policy, and the macroeconomic policy mix. And in the last chapter we are going to talk about aggregate demand curve and طبعا هناخد ان شاء الله revision. طيب, goods market, as you know, it's the market in which goods and services are exchanged and in which the equilibrium level of aggregate output is determined. As you know, it's determined by the condition y equals c plus I plus g when we talk about closed economy with government. Okay, we still talk about closed economy with government. So y is determined اللي هي aggregate output when y equal aggregate expenditure or when y equal c plus I plus g. طيب, ده بالنسبة لإيه؟ للجودز market. When we talk about money market, this is the market in which money is exchanged and in which the equilibrium level of the interest rate is determined. فكر في الماني على إنها سلعة عادية, أي سلعة, it's a product. okay, وسعرها هيتحدد في السوق. the price of money is interest rate. بنسمي ال price of money is interest rate. اوكي, يبقى ببساطة شديدة علشان هنحاول ان احنا نوصلك الفكرة بشكل مبسط جدا من غير ما نخش في اي details. اعتبر ان الماني دي زيها زي اي product. so it's a product, it's a price will be determined in the market زي ما هنشوف دلوقتي. بس ال price of money اسمه ايه؟ هنسميه ايه؟ هنسميه interest rate وهنديله رمز R. اوكي, طيب, so the equilibrium in money market. supply. Let's talk about supply and demand in money market. First, we assume that supply of money is constant. constant بالنسبة لإيه؟ relative to interest rate. اوكي؟ طيب زي ما كنا بنتكلم في المايكرو economics about any product. تخيل ان الموني is a product. price of money بحطه على ال vertical axis مع انه هو ال independent variable زي ما كنت بعمل في البرايس والquantity demand. خلاص يبقى ال interest rate don't forget it's the independent variable. quantity of money is the dependent variable وبحطها هنا على الايه؟ على ال x axis as exception زي ما قلنا في الايه؟ في البرايس والquantity بتاعت ايه؟ any product. طيب we assume that supply of money is constant relative to interest rate. يعني الانترست ريت مش هي اللي بتحدده، ملوش علاقة بالانترست ريت. however interest rate increases or decreases the supply of money we assume that it's constant. So it's vertical line. Demand of money is a negatively sloped curve. ليه؟ To reflect the negative relationship between interest rate and quantity of money demanded. So when interest rate increases, quantity of money demanded decreases. When interest rate decreases, quantity of money demanded increases. Okay? So demand for money is negatively sloped curve like the demand for any product. طيب. The equilibrium in money market occurs when the supply of money, which is vertical line, intersects the demand for money. At the intersection point, the equilibrium interest rate is determined. Okay? يبقى equilibrium interest rate is determined when supply of money intersects the demand for money. يبقى equilibrium exists in the money market. ساعات بنسميه financial market. يبقى money market financial market ده ايه؟ نفس الحاجة. When the supply of money, which assumed to be constant, intersects the demand for money. يبقى quantity demanded equal quantity supplied of money at this point or point of equilibrium. طيب. At any interest rate which is more than the equilibrium interest rate. ايه اللي هيحصل؟ هيبقى عندي surplus or excess supply. excess supply of money. excess supply of money هو ال excess demand for bonds. مش هتكلم خالص على البونز. اوكي؟ مش هتكلم خالص وهنسيب الكلام ده ان شاء الله للسنة الجاية. يبقى at any interest rate which is more than the equilibrium interest rate there is a surplus or excess supply of money. This excess supply will push the interest rate down to return to equilibrium interest rate. If interest rate or the current interest rate is less than the equilibrium interest rate, so in this case the quantity demand of money will be more than quantity supplied of money. يبقى هبقى عندي ايه؟ shortage or excess demand for money. excess demand for money will push the interest rate up to return to the equilibrium interest rate again. Okay? يبقى if the current interest rate above the equilibrium interest rate هيبقى عندي surplus of money which push the interest rate down to return to equilibrium. If the current interest rate is below the equilibrium interest rate هيبقى عندي ايه؟ shortage or excess demand for money which push the equilibrium interest rate which push the interest rate up to return to the equilibrium interest rate. It's very simple. خلاص وقوي تشبه الايه؟ الايكوليبريم لأي product. Okay. Which factors will affect the equilibrium of money market? As we said in microeconomics in the first term, the equilibrium will change when the supply for money change or when the demand for money change معايا. يبقى أنا عندي equilibrium when the supply of money equals demand for money. when the quantity of money demanded equal quantity of supply of money supplied, or when supply of money intersects demand for money. طيب ايه اللي هيغير بقى الايكوليبريم بوينت دي؟ حاجة من الاتنين تحصل. if supply of money change or when demand for money changes. Let's begin with change in money supply. الأول ايه اللي هيغير الماني سبلاي؟ مش هنتكلم عنه خالص، زي ما قلنا ده كان chapter 25 و 26 اللي احنا ايه لغيناه. مش هتكلم خالص ايه هي which factors will affect money supply. خلاص امال هتكلم عن ايه اللي هيحصل when supply of money increases or decreases. هو ده اللي انا عايز اعرفه. طيب supply of money intersects demand for money and the equilibrium interest rate is determined. Now let's assume that supply of money increases, so the vertical line will shift to the right. All the supply of money or the vertical line will shift to the right. Okay, so from MS0 to MS1. اللي هيحصل بعد كده it's very clear that interest rate will decrease. Interest rate, the equilibrium interest rate will decrease from 7% to 4%. Okay, easy. So an increase in money supply of money will shift to the right and the equilibrium interest rate decreases. وطبعا and vice versa. If supply of money decreases, so the supply of money curve will shift to the left and interest rate will increase. يعني كأن في negative relationship between the money supply and the interest rate. Money supply increases, interest rate decreases. Money supply decreases, interest rate increases. An increase in supply of money shifts the money supply to the right from MS0 to MS1 and decreases the rate of interest from 7% to 4%. طيب يبقى أنا دلوقتي اتكلمت على الإيه؟ change in money supply. Let's talk about change in money demand. طيب هنا بقى هعرف which factors affect money demand. Current income. Current income affects money demand. Current income هي ممكن أسميها B times real income. Nominal income, okay, it's or current income, it's B اللي هو ال price level times real income. B times Y, this is the nominal income. So if nominal income changes، أول حاجة هي or ممكن أفرقها أغنطهم أقول لك when level of price changes أو when real income changed. 3 عوامل دول خلاص هي will affect the demand for money. طبعا if your income increases so you will increase your demand for money علشان ايه تشتري بيها ال goods and services which you want to increase to buy. Okay, يبقى an increase in nominal income or real income or level of price is expected to increase the demand for money. So demand for money curve will shift to the right. Okay, ايه اللي هيحصل للinterest rate؟ اهو it's very clear that interest rate will increase. يبقى an increase in income will shift or will increase money demand. So money demand curve will shift to the right. Interest rate will increase. طبعا and vice versa. If income decreases, so the money demand decreases, it shifts to the left and interest rate in this case will decrease. يبقى كأن عندي positive relationship between money of demand and interest rate. when demand for money increases interest rate will increase. When demand for money decreases interest rate will decrease. يبقى an increase in nominal income، أو ممكن أقول لك an increase in level of price لوحده، أو أقول لك an increase in real income لوحده، أو أجيبهم مع بعض وأقول لك an increase in nominal income. ده بيعمل إيه؟ shift the money demand curve from MD0 to MD1 which increases the equilibrium interest rate from 4% to 7%. اوكي واضحة؟ طيب let's talk about the relationship between investment and interest rate. It's very clear and very easy، لكن معظم الناس بتتلخبط فيها. لما انا اقول لك الانترست ريت، even ان الانترست ريت increase، دي الانترست ريت دي سعر الفايدة اللي بيفرضها البنك. طيب if interest rate increases، لو انا بتكلم عليك انت ككونسيومر، يعني بتعمل saving، اكيد ده هيفيدك. يبقى when interest rate increases you will increase your saving. اوكي، يبقى كأن في positive relationship between interest rate and your saving as a consumer. But the story is very different if we talk about investors. Investors او المستثمر ده انا بعتبر ان هو he always borrows money from the bank to invest with this money. يبقى هو دايما بفترض الانفسترز المستثمرين بيعملوا ايه؟ بيستلفوا فلوس من البنك علشان يستثمروا بيها. بيستلفوا فلوس من البنك، يبقى هم اللي لازم they should pay interest rate، هم اللي هيدفعوا سعر الفايدة، او هم اللي هيدفعوا الانترست ريت. So the interest rate relative to investors are cost. واضحة النقطة دي؟ يبقى الانترست ريت related to investors بالنسبة للمستثمرين ده يعتبر cost. ده cost of production، ده cost of the investment. So when cost of investments increases their profits will decrease, they should decrease their investment. So there is a negative relationship between interest rate and investment. ده واضحة جدا. This relationship is very easy. It should be very clear for you. معايا؟ يبقى تاني if interest rate increases so the cost of investors will increase, so their profit decreases and they should decrease their investment. يبقى an increase in interest rate should decrease investment. واضحة؟ interest rate دي cost of borrowing. It's cost of investment. When cost of investment increases, they should decrease investment. Okay? So there is a negative relationship between interest rate and investment. relationship دي لازم تبتدي من interest rate. يعني interest rate is independent variable. When interest rate decreases, so cost of investment or cost of borrowing decreases, profit of investors will increase, they will increase their investment. Okay, and vice versa. So there is a negative relationship between interest rate and investment. So investment curve should be negatively sloped like that. It should be negatively sloped. If interest rate is 3, okay, investment level is I0. If investment interest rate increases to 6%, investment level of investment decreases to I1. If interest rate increases again to 9%, investment level of investment will decrease to I2. Okay, so planned investment spending is a negative function of interest rate. An increase in interest rate from 3% to 6% to 9% reduces planned investment from I0 to I1 to I2. Let's talk about the effect of change in interest rate on planned aggregate expenditure and Y equilibrium income. كده اللينك ابتدى يبقى ايه؟ يبقى واضح. interest rate دلوقتي we try to find a link between goods market and money market. خلي بالك بحاول ان انا دلوقتي ادور على لينك، اوضح لك اللينك between goods market and money market. اوكي، الماني ماركت اتكلمنا عنه من خلال الانترست ريت. the equilibrium in money market determines the interest rate. صح، interest rate is determined from the equilibrium of money market, and we know that in goods market y is determined, the aggregate output is determined. طب ايه بقى what بقى the relationship between interest rate and y؟ هو ده اللي بيربط الايه السوقين ببعض. interest rate is determined from the equilibrium of money market, while y, which is aggregate output, is determined from the equilibrium in goods market. تعالوا بقى ايه نربط r interest rate ب y aggregate output. طيب a higher interest rate, or when interest rate a higher interest rate decreases planned investment. يعني if interest rate increases, planned investment will decrease. It is the negative relationship which we talked about it from 1 minute. يوم ايه اللي يحصل؟ Planned investment is a part of planned aggregate expenditure. So when investment decreases, ايه اللي هيحصل؟ aggregate expenditure should decrease. Thus, when interest rate increases, planned aggregate expenditure will decrease at every level of income. Finally, when aggregate expenditure decreases, so aggregate output should decrease as well by a multiple of the initial decrease in planned investment. طبعا you know that if investment decreases, y will decrease by more than the increase in investment. بقد ايه؟ بقيمة المالتبلاير. فاكرين المالتبلاير؟ طيب عشان الموضوع يبقى اسهل اهو خليك معايا كده نفس الكلام اللي قلناه. when interest rate increases, investment will decrease. There is a negative relationship between them. So when investment decreases, aggregate expenditure should decrease. ليه؟ because investment is one component of aggregate expenditure. When aggregate expenditure decreases, y should decrease. ليه؟ فاكرين الايكوليبريم مع بعض. if aggregate expenditure decreases يبقى aggregate expenditure now is less than aggregate output. So now the level of inventory will increase. Firms will respond by decreasing output. So equilibrium output will decrease. هيقل بقد ايه بقى؟ هي دي الحته بتاعه المالتبلاير. A decrease in equilibrium output equal the initial decrease in investment times the value of multiplier. هو 1 over marginal propensity to save. يعني y will decrease much more than the decrease in investment. So as you see, when interest rate increases, equilibrium output should decrease. Okay? So if we want to show this relationship on the graph, the effect of an increase in interest rate on planned aggregate expenditure. This is the aggregate expenditure curve, which is C plus I plus G. Let's assume that this is our aggregate expenditure when interest rate equal 3%. The equilibrium at this point when 45-degree line اللي هو income line intersects the aggregate expenditure function. At the point of intersection بنحدد مين؟ equilibrium output هنسميه y note. طيب now let's assume that interest rate increases from 3% to 6%. ايه اللي هيحصل؟ investment will decrease. Investment which is one component of aggregate expenditure will decrease. This will shift زي ما خدنا قبل كده في الشابتر اللي فات. This will shift aggregate expenditure function downward. Okay? So we have another equilibrium income اللي هو اسمه Y1. Change of income from Y0 to Y1 ده هيبقى أكبر من change of investment from I0 to I1. ليه؟ عشان ده عبارة عن ايه؟ دلتا Y equal دلتا I times the value of multiplier اللي هو 1 over marginal propensity to save. Okay? So an increase in interest rate decrease investment. So investment so aggregate expenditure function shifts downward and the equilibrium income decreases from Y0 to Y1, decreases by the change of investment times the value of multiplier. واضحة؟ يبقى when interest rate increases output decreases. Okay? When interest rate increases output decreases. Negative relationship between them if we begin from interest rate. يبقى when interest rate increases investment decreases, so aggregate expenditure decreases, output decreases, and vice versa. If interest rate decreases, so investment increases, aggregate expenditure increases, and finally output or aggregate output increases. So very clear that when interest rate increases aggregate output decreases. When interest rate decreases, aggregate output increases. So it's very clear that there is a negative relationship between them. But this negative relationship is true when we begin from interest rate. يعني when interest rate is the independent variable بيتغير الأول. وهيحصل لها إيه؟ العكس. Interest rate increases, Y decreases. Interest rate decreases, Y increases. يبقى the negative relationship between R and Y لازم تكون when R is the independent variable. When R changes first. اوكي؟ يبقى كل حاجة ابقى انا فاهمها وعارفة بتيجي منين. ما بحفظش كده relationship كذا او كذا، لا. When R increases, so investment decreases, aggregate expenditure decreases, Y decreases. يبقى it's negative relationship between them. As we said before, when R is the independent variable. طيب let's talk about equilibrium in past goods market and money market. طيب احنا اتكلمنا عن اول جنب، اول relationship، اول link اللي كان ايه؟ R. when R change, Y will it change. When R increases, Y decreases. When R decreases, Y increases. اول link. طب تعالوا نشوف كده اللينك من ناحية تانية. When income increases ده هيعمل ايه تفتكروا؟ this will shift the demand for money to the right. صح؟ When income increases يبقى أنا عارفة إن ال demand for money will increase. So money demand curve will shift to the right, which increases the interest rate. طبعا assuming that money supply is constant. So we can say that when Y increases, aggregate output increases, so demand for money increases, shift to the right, interest rate increases. Okay? When Y decreases, so the demand for money decreases, shift to the left, and R decreases. Allah, يبقى when we begin with Y, so R will change at the same direction as the change of Y. So the relationship here is positive if the independent variable is Y. يبقى لما نبتدي ب Y هلاقي ان ايه؟ R will increase if Y increases. يبقى when Y increases, R increases. When Y decreases, R decreases. يبقى relationship between them positive في أي حالة بقى if we talk about y as independent variable. يعني when y change first, the relationship between it and r will be positive relationship. مفهومة؟ أنا simply speaking when r increases, investment will decrease, aggregate expenditure decreases, y decreases, negative relationship. But when y increases, demand for money increases, so interest rate increases. It's positive relationship. يبقى if we look at this diagram, okay, look at goods market. At goods market, the equilibrium condition y equals c plus I plus g. At goods market, y is determined. Okay? طيب يبقى y is determined in the good market. وبعد كده ايه اللي بيحصل؟ ما هو y دي اللي هي الاجريجيت output بتعمل ايه؟ it affects demand for money or money demand. اوكي؟ ايه اللي هتأثر على الايه؟ الانترست ريت. طيب look at money market. At the money market, the equilibrium condition, money demand or quantity of money demanded equal quantity of money supplied, and interest rate is determined. Interest rate will affect a investment which will affect aggregate expenditure and y in good market. اوكي يبقى عرفنا اللينك ايه؟ يبقى in goods market y is determined which affect the money demand in money market. In money market interest rate is determined which affects investment in goods market. واضحة التو links دول؟ يبقى planned investment depends on the interest rate and money demand depends on aggregate output. اوكي؟ سهلة؟ سهلة. طيب تعالوا نشوف كده كام سؤال دول. multiple choice, an increase in interest rate. ركز معايا. an increase in interest rate هيعمل ايه؟ will increase consumption and rotate aggregate expenditure upward. an increase in interest rate مش ممكن هيزود consumption. it will increase saving so decrease consumption. يبقى it's wrong. B. will decrease consumption صح and investment صح and decrease equilibrium income. اوكي صح. طيب let's see number C. an increase in interest rate will shift aggregate expenditure upward. اوكي لا طبعا it's downward يبقى غلط. D. will increase saving تمام and shift saving line downward. لا increase saving يبقى هيشفت saving line upward مش downward. آخر واحدة will decrease investment مظبوط and cause a movement downward along the investment line. لا طبعا هيعمل shift in aggregate expenditure function. يبقى هي it's number B. Okay. Second, if the consumption function is given by C equal 30, which is autonomous consumption, plus 0.75y. طبعا 0.75 this is the marginal propensity to consume. Therefore, the multiplier is المultiplier 1 over marginal propensity to save. يعني 1 over 0.25 يبقى 4. To increase equilibrium income by $2,000 billion, we should increase investment by يبقى change of y equal $2,000 billion. يبقى change of investment هيبقى ايه؟ change of y over the value of multiplier. يعني 2000 over 4 يبقى هيبقى $500 billion. اوكي يبقى هي number A. Okay, true or false? First, a decrease in interest rate is expected to decrease investment and shift the aggregate expenditure line downward. طبعا غلط. ليه؟ أصل a decrease in interest rate على طول is expected to increase investment. There is a negative relationship between interest rate and investment. اوكي يبقى ده هيزود الانفستمنت and shift aggregate expenditure line upward على طول. Second, an increase in nominal income will shift the supply of money to the right and then decrease the interest rate. That's طبعا false. ليه؟ أصل an increase in nominal income will not affect supply of money. It affects demand for money. اوكي وطبعا هو اللي هينقل demand for money to the right وبالتالي الايه increase the interest rate. يبقى it's ايه false. Third, a decrease in level of prices will affect the demand for money negatively. صح؟ and decrease the interest rate. تمام فعلا an increase in level of price هيعمل ايه؟ will decrease the demand for money. يبقى demand for money will shift to the left وبالتالي ايه will shift decrease بالظبط ال level of price هيعمل ايه will affect the demand for money negatively هيتنقل ايه to the left and decrease the interest rate. اوكي يبقى true. When income increases, so this shift the money demand curve to the right and increases the interest rate. تمام. When income increases, this will shift the money demand curve to the right وده هيعمل ايه؟ هيزود ال interest rate. طبعا انا بتكلم وعلى طول ايه وانت بتفكر بترسم الرسمه معايا يمين وشمال في مخك علشان ايه مش لازم ترسم الرسمه لو هي رسمه سهله زي دي يبقى انت ممكن تتخيلها بمخك وتجاوب على طول. Equilibrium exists in the money market امتى؟ when the supply of money intersects the demand for money and the equilibrium income is determined. false طبعا. هو ال equilibrium income is determined؟ لا equilibrium interest rate is determined. okay demand for money and supply of money intersects together and interest rate or equilibrium interest rate is determined مش equilibrium income. Supply of money is assumed to be constant and positively sloped. طبعا supply of money is assumed to be constant يبقى the vertical line. It's not affected by the interest rate. Demand for money is negatively sloped curve to reflect the negative relationship between interest rate and the quantity of money demanded. okay صح. When interest rate increases, both investment and saving should decrease. طبعا لا investment و saving دول اصلا عكس بعض. When interest rate increases زي ما قلنا this will encourage people to save يبقى saving will increase لكن this is considered cost of borrowing or cost for investors so investment will decrease. يبقى when interest rate increases investment will decrease صح but saving will increase. When interest rate increases both investment and consumption should decrease. تمام. and then equilibrium income should decrease. صح 100%. okay this is the end of our lecture today and see you soon إن شاء الله.